surfers and skaters. I was an outsider. I wasn't the kind of person you wanted to spend time with on a Friday or Saturday night. When Greg and I took the first step in forming the band, somehow it was decided that I was going to be the drummer. Greg played guitar, and he needed someone to hold down the beat. I didn't know how to play drums, but that didn't matter. We weren't going to let our lack of experience slow us down. Just like Greg had taught himself how to play guitar, I'd teach myself how to play and bang around on some drums. How hard could it be? My dad was a jazz fanatic who liked to fool around on drums. Sometimes he'd sit in with bands at the Lighthouse, a legendary jazz club right across the street from my dad's shop on Pier Avenue. He got to play with Elvin Jones. If any of you are familiar with the jazz world, he is like, there's Max Roach and Elvin Jones, Billy Cobham, but Elvin Jones is like the main guy. He played with Coltrane and a bunch of other guys. One of the top jazz drummers of all time. If you were into jazz in the 50s and 60s, the Lighthouse was the place to be with guys like Chet Baker, Miles Davis, Max Roach, and many others playing and recording there. But this was the 70s, and what we were doing sure as hell wasn't jazz. I needed some drums. I knew a guy who had a kit he wasn't using. I called him up and told him he should sell his drums to me. He said he'd give me the drum kit for $200, and I told him he had a deal. It turned out the kit didn't belong to him. It belonged to this other friend of ours. So I narrowly avoided getting my ass kicked from one end of Hermosa to the other for purchasing a hot set of drums. One day I was hanging out with Greg and a few other people at the workspace for his mail order business, which was called Solid State Transmitters. Greg modified attenuators and shipped them off to ham radio operators around the country, and he hired me to help out. We did all the soldering and distribution in a rented room inside a community art space on Manhattan Avenue that used to be a church. So that's what everybody called it, the church. It was a weekend afternoon, and as usual, I'd spent my morning consuming some chilled adult beverages. I was ready to go wander down to the beach and sleep it off under the pier when Iggy and the Stooges' Search and Destroy came blasting out of the radio. I started to pogo around, jumping up on Greg's desk and springing into the air, screaming the lyrics to the song. I totally lost it and did what felt like a triple flip in the air and bounced onto the sofa. I wasn't done yet. I jumped off the arm of the sofa and did a swan dive across the floor, which I timed perfectly to the end of the song, crash landing on my face. I didn't care what happened to me. All I cared about was the song, and screaming the lyrics, and putting on a show for my friends. After the music stopped, I picked myself up off the floor. Greg looked at me in disbelief and said, "You're not playing drums in the band." What? I thought he was going to kick me out of the shop for being a total spaz. I thought he was booting me out of the band. "You're the vocalist," Greg said. And with that, out of a friendship between a tall guitar player and a short vocalist, the seeds for Black Flag were born.